Secrets of the C-Suite, the podcast, is for anyone interested in leadership and the wins, losses, and lessons of being an executive. We are two women who have successfully navigated C-Suite roles and are sharing our experiences. We will be bringing on guests to tell their stories and want to spark honest conversation and discussion, which may include swearing and lots of laughs. Join us on this adventure. Hello and welcome to Secrets of the C-Suite, the podcast. My name is Juliet Clothier, and we have a charming guest today, Katie Specht. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, Susan Sutherland. Hi, Susan.
Good morning, Juliet. So nice to see you.
You too. You too. I'm happy to have you in the same time zone.
I'm happy to be in the same time zone. And for our listeners, it is dark 30 because that's how we have to do things when we're both in the Pacific time zone. And I just want to add, for the sake of nothing, it's pouring rain out. So, Juliet, I've been thinking a lot about, interestingly enough, goal setting. So because for me, it's a perennial challenge to think about what I want to accomplish in any sphere of my life. And that's not the hard part. It is setting achievable, reasonable goals. And I feel like what I'm still learning at the ripe age I'm at is how to not overestimate my abilities, I'm going to achieve this goal and I will be able to climb Mount Everest in 1 month, my training goal, for example. Sure. And how that overestimating our abilities, our time can derail us so quickly. Like an achievable goal becomes impossible because of the way I tend to set up my tasks towards that goal.
I mean, it can be a small thing. I totally agree. It can be a small thing like you make your list the night before and then you sit down with your list in the next morning and you're like, there's no way I can do this. And you're already kind of defeated before you start. So it's like, you can start small like that, or you can be working on something for 6 months and it just doesn't happen, or you realize it's not achievable. And I think, there's a flip side to that too, where we reach goals. We're not even realizing it. We don't take the time to celebrate it. We don't sit with it. We don't, I think about my career, and my career is way beyond anything I dreamed of 20 years ago, for sure. But I don't think about it very often because I'm always like, okay, well, what's next? And what am I going to learn? And how am I going to, professional development? And obviously the world is moving fast, AI, all that stuff. I want to learn it. I want to know it. But I also tend to not take that time to celebrate it. And I think there's a side of this that happens when other people tell you or, give you accolades or, wow, you did this. And we often brush that off too.
Yeah. This is interesting because I think this is a nice segue to introducing our guest, because our guest told us that she wanted to meet with us. I didn't know her. Juliet did, to our listeners. And so we met really briefly over the weekend just to kind of talk about what the podcast would be like. And that was one of those things where two people outside looking in, I'd never met her, was able to even just say, I want to know about this and that, because we see our story really differently from the inside out. And other people see our story, our accomplishments, our activities, more neutrally, but also more positively. Right. Yeah. And so it's a really common thing with our guests. It's like, why do you want me on the podcast? I'm like, hey, you're interesting. And part of what's fun about this is we do get to celebrate our guests in that way. And I also want to say, Juliet, because here we are in season 4, that who imagined that we'd be in season 4 of this podcast? This started as let's try it and see how it goes. And we're kind of in love with it.
We are, and we've navigated time zones and we've navigated all kinds of different things going on. And my career changed. I was going into consulting when we started this. That was one of the reasons I wanted to do it. And then I got a day job, as we say, and, just life has changed all around us, but we have done it 2 years in. So yay us. Let's have a moment of yay.
Let's have a moment. And also, parking lot item for us to think about, what other goals do we have for our podcast?
That's a good idea.
That we can hold lightly and not bring our perfectionist mindset to.
I like that. Very cool. All right, I'm going to introduce our guest. How about that?
Wonderful.
Katie Specht is a California-based entrepreneur and the founder of Moonlight Blooms Farm. She began her career in wine production, working hands-on with fermentation and the science behind it, before trading the cellar for building a business from the ground up, literally. What started as a small flower growing experiment has grown into a thriving, design-driven brand known for its distinctive style, transparent approach, and strong community focus. Katie isn't afraid to question industry norms, especially when it comes to pricing, sustainability, and what it really takes to run a creative business. Her work has been featured in Vogue, and each season she shares hundreds of floral arrangements with local hospice programs. She's especially passionate about bringing women together to collaborate, whether in the field, at the design table, or through shared projects that turn individual businesses into something bigger. Welcome, Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hi, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I was nervous, but now I'm ready.
Good, good. Yeah. I mean, it is nerve wracking. And I remember the first time I was on Susan's podcast. She had her own podcast. And I was, again, same kind of thing, like, what am I going to talk about? And I don't like my voice. And, there's a lot of things that kind of go into thinking about putting yourself out there. And, you're an entrepreneur. You're always putting yourself out there. This is a new place. And I'm really happy that you have graced us with this and to tell us your story today.
Thank you for the introduction. That was very flattering. And like you talked about earlier, getting accolades from someone, you often brush them aside, but that's something I'm working on, to take those moments and really carry them in my heart and learn from them and have them help me launch forward in my career.
Yeah, yeah. So we have the intro. We told people kind of how you got here, but if you don't mind talking, your life started in agriculture. So
yeah,
being in the dirt isn't something you just picked up later on in your life. Can you tell us about your kind of origin story?
Yeah. Okay. So my family are all pear growers up north of Sonoma County, and they have packing houses and where they pack the fruit and ship it. And I grew up working in the packing house, packing pears by hand. And I also was in 4-H, had sheep. So I had dirt under my nails from an early age. And I remember one time after I was working in the wine industry, my dad said to me, I started a venture that didn't go well. And my dad said to me, Katie, all you want to do is be in production. Do something to put yourself in production. That's what you want to do. So I started just kind of as a mental break from having kids, working in the yard, working in the garden, making something. And then I realized, yeah, this is where I need to be. I need to be in the dirt, and I'm good at it. And that's one thing I know that I'm good at, growing flowers, not vegetables. I have to rely on Juliet and that. But I loved being out there. I loved getting away from my kids. They're both very needy and gifted and crazy. And I, especially during COVID, needed that escape. And the great thing is nobody else in my family wants to get dirt under their nails. So it's my thing alone. And I love it. Anyway, during COVID, friends were saying, why are you giving away your bouquets? You should be selling them. You should be selling them. So I took a course from a woman in the Northwest that's really designed for entrepreneurs that want to get into growing flowers. And I loved it. And I just decided, okay, I'll go for it. But like I said, I had a previous venture that was not productive. And it turns out I'm bipolar, and I kind of went on a spin and really didn't do well with that business and ended up costing us quite a bit of money. It was really fun. Well, I was in my high manic stage, but then I crashed, and that was bad. So I was nervous to get into this business again, but I decided, and my husband is really supportive. He said, just do it. Just do it. Do something you love, and it's like for your mental health. So I started the business, did a lot of things wrong. There's a good side and a bad side to listening to people and what their opinions are and what I should do. And when I started out the business, I didn't do the math. I thought I could make bouquets one-off for people that wanted them, or do CSA, community supported agriculture, where people buy subscriptions. Juliet was one of my first customers. Anyway, there's no money in that. So I took courses at the JC and met really great, talented people that were also in the classes that were gifted designers. And I thought, well, heck, man, I don't feel comfortable with my design abilities, but I can hire people to do it. So I started venturing into the wedding and event field, and it's been so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun it's been. It's amazing, and I'm so happy.
And it sounds like that's a moneymaker compared to the CSA approach or the individual bouquet approach.
It is. It absolutely is. My first couple years, I was taking weddings, at lower budget weddings, running around doing a lot of work. This last year, I decided to raise my minimum and do fewer weddings because it's the same. I mean, if you're working on a $2,000 wedding or you're working on a $7,000 floral budget, it's the same work that goes into it. You have to get the momentum. You have to talk to the couples. You have to do everything up front. So you might as well go for something that's going to make more money and do less of it. And I think like one thing I've learned is that I have to listen to the numbers. I pull out my spreadsheets. I keep track of every single stem that I harvest and really listen to the numbers.
That is so, I obviously didn't know that. That's really cool. And you kind of use just a basic spreadsheet to keep track of that?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And then I've learned how to use pivot tables. I'm not a very good spreadsheet person, but I've taken some classes, and then I can analyze my crop yields. I can analyze where the flowers really went, if I did anything with them, and it will help me plan for the following year what I'm going to plant.
Yeah. So Katie, I know this probably seems like a duh question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So you not only are the designer florist, you're the front of house, so to speak, for your flower business, but you're also growing your own flowers. Where do you do that? Like, is that in your yard? I don't have a picture.
I live in a residential area that was annexed into the city like in the 70s, and everybody has at least 3/4 of an acre where I live, and it's right smack in the middle of town. And we had a couple donkeys when I started this business. And so I was growing on maybe 1,000 square feet of actual crammed in flower beds. And the donkeys both passed away, sadly. And so I doubled my capacity. And I can make enough flowers to end my 3/4 acres to make a business.
Wow.
And I also have a network of other flower farmers. To me, it's really important that I practice sustainability. I want to leave the land in better condition than I found it. So I don't use inorganic substances like fertilizers or all organic fertilizers. I practice safe pest control. I use whatever practices I can to try to improve the soil so I can improve what grows. And it's really rewarding. It takes the science that I had from working in the wine industry and applies it to what I'm doing now. And it's a combination of science and creativity that is hard to find in a lot of things.
Yeah. So, Katie, what's your favorite flower to work with?
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard one because it changes every week.
Is it like asking which of your children you love more than the other?
Pretty much. But there's a lot of children involved. Yeah. I just have 2 in real life, but with the flowers, I have hundreds. And it just depends. When I walk the field in the morning and I look at everything, something that I planted that somebody said, you should just try this Godetia. It's really cool. And I'm like, I don't even want to give any space to it because space is really limited. And then I'll walk out there one day and it will be like, wow, that is an amazing flower. That's my new favorite flower. And then the next day I walk out and there's another favorite flower. And I don't have a favorite flower. I know what I don't like working with. I don't like growing dahlias. They're a pain in the butt, and they're a pest magnet.
Magnet.
Yeah.
Mm.
So way
But they're
back when
so
I
pretty.
started this, they are so beautiful and I use them all the time, but I'm working with other farmers, and one of my best friends decided she wanted to grow dahlias. And so we worked out a deal where I grow what she doesn't, and she grows dahlias, and we do trade. And we trade for labor as well, which is really good because she's a great designer. And we can help each other. Like I'll help her if she needs to, you know, divide dahlias or something. I'll help her a little bit, just enough to get my fix, but not enough to hate dahlias. And then I don't work with roses either. I don't grow them, but there's a great farm in East Sonoma County that grows tons of David Austin roses. So I buy from them. I also have a network of 5 other flower farms that I've met. They're all women owned. I've met these women and we do trades or buy flowers at wholesale prices from each other when we have a need for other things. Like I'll send out an email and say, I have a lavender wedding. Does anybody have anything lavender or white? And we all come together and yeah, I have Veronica or I have blooming lavender. And then I go out and harvest and make a trade or pay them money at wholesale prices. And it's just lovely. We all get along and support each other doing different things. Most of us have different outlets for our crops, which makes it easy to be collaborative.
Right.
Yeah, you're not in competition, direct competition with them. That's great. So I want to just take a couple steps back, if we can, to the COVID years and when you started bringing women together for Flower Friday and kind of how that came about. I want to highlight what the original purpose was, and that was to provide flowers and arrangements to hospice and nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so tell us about how you kind of got there.
Well, I had an overabundance of flowers when I started out. It was, difficult to get your first customers. And my grandma it was during COVID and she was put into a retirement home. And at the same time, I got breast cancer and had to go through a double mastectomy and reconstructive surgery. And I couldn't see my granny. I couldn't visit her. And I would send her FTD flowers. And it would make me so sad. She was so happy. And I thought they were the ugliest looking bouquets I'd ever seen in my life. And she lived in another city. I couldn't give her my flowers. And I just started thinking about all the people that are stuck inside away from their families and they can't have that love. And so I tried to find places that would take flowers during COVID, and I was able to find some memory care places that would and hospice. And I got a bunch of girls together for Friday night, bubbles and cheese and appetizers, and we made tons of bouquets and then delivered them to whoever would take them. And it was it's like my favorite thing. It is like truly makes you feel good and you have a whole lot of fun doing it. And
it was genius. I have to say, I joined, probably you'd been doing it for a while when I came to my first one. And I don't know how to describe the feeling actually, because we have been so isolated. And this was outside. It was when it was safer. So it's a little later than, I think it was late summer maybe of 2020. And just being out there, being able to be in community, beautiful flowers that we got to arrange. And I think the other thing was being creative and having this moment of creativity, and everybody's bouquets were their own creation. You didn't have to do anything. There was no recipe. And, I don't consider myself very good at flowers. I like just the same flowers all in one vase, and just learning how to stretch my brain and have a glass of bubbles and share appetizers and meet new people. It was it was very magical, I have to say. And it was Flower Fridays, and that was really cool.
Wow. I am so struck by the love that started the idea. Like you were missing your grandmother and you sent her flowers and you suddenly sort of had this, other people should have flowers. So, the heart that brought that idea to fruition is just so remarkable. And obviously it continues. Like when I watch Juliet's face when she's talking about it, it's like there's the community piece of it, there's the beauty of the flowers piece of it, there's the being outside, and most importantly, there's helping people who are trapped and probably underserved, undervisited, by giving them flowers. Like it's such a beautiful human thing to do, Katie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just kind of blown away by that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just a natural thing to do. There's no way I was throwing flowers away.
That's right.
I didn't grow them to throw them away.
Yeah.
Now,
That's right.
so things have changed a little bit. I have streamlined my business. I'm working with one other particular flower farmer whose land floods, and she has a lot of land, but it floods. So the crops that you have to plant in November and December, it's just a crapshoot for her. So she approached me and said, what if you grow those crops for me and then I grow your summer crops? Because by the time those crops bloom, it's almost too late to plant summer crops. And so I planted all my land except for one bed that I devoted to zinnias for her. And it's worked out great. She takes my excess flowers and we have a Excel sheet that we share and keep track of how many stems we each gave each other. And the downside of it is she takes all my flowers. So I haven't had a Flower Friday yet, and that breaks my heart. But one thing that I did, I guess it was last year, is Meals on Wheels was doing a annual fundraiser event, like a big gala. And they asked if I would do the flowers just because I knew the chef and my friend wrote me into it. And it was a huge event. And I got the 5 other farms together. We all donated flowers. We all designed together. It was just so much fun. Wow. And then did the event. And I'm going to start just calling my flower friends and saying, hey, give me your surplus. Come on over for Flower Friday, because I need to feed that part of my soul again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's really a part of being an entrepreneur when your business starts to grow and you do lose sight of kind of the origin story, because you have to, you're now in the business. You have to make it work. You've got these partners that you're working with that you've committed to. And I think that's one thing that happens for people who are creative too, is that they get so far away from how they started that they lose some of the passion. And it sounds like you're keeping the passion, but there is this longing for the community that you started this with.
Absolutely. I miss it so much, and I can't believe it's already almost June.
Yeah.
And I haven't had one yet. So it's in the works, Juliet. And Susan,
all right. I'll be there.
What really impresses me about your story, Katie, and how you talk about your business is you as a person, as an entrepreneur, are so values driven. Like from the moment we started this conversation, the themes of love, that's my word that I would apply to how you talk about the impact of the work that you do, beauty, and community. Like community is your thing. You've gone from being a solopreneur to collaborating with these other farmers and designers because that works for you in a way that isn't just about the bottom line. Like it brings people together. And to me, it sounds like there's this beautiful through line. And I just wanted to call that out because, as we've mentioned before, we don't always see the through lines in our own story. It helps to have someone say, look at you doing this values-driven thing that brings people together and makes the world a more beautiful, loving place.
Thank you. I don't think about that, especially on a daily basis. I just think about, what am I going to do today? Oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I got to do it before the sun comes up, And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Now I'm going to take you back to something you said early on in this podcast, and you get to choose which part of this you share with us. But you said you made a lot of mistakes. And I wonder if you can just highlight one. Like, what was a mistake early in this incarnation of your business that you now look back and said, oh, major learning experience, won't do X, Y, or Z again?
Okay, there's one thing that I think this is my 5th year. And early on, I'm very hesitant with my design work. I don't believe that I have that natural ability. And so I've taken a lot of classes and I've tried to learn, but I did glom onto one person, and she was a mentor to me, which was a really good thing design-wise and helped me a lot. But at some point, you have to have the guts to say, you're not needed anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was paying her quite a bit, and I held on to her probably a year longer than I should have. And recently, she let me down and as my lead designer, and we parted ways. And I had to do 2 weddings in 1 week that were both very big, and I was freaking out. And I realized I did better without her. I didn't need her. The community that I put together to do the work did better without her. We were freer and we didn't get nitpicked what we did. I spent less on labor, and it's just, I didn't have the confidence. Luckily, I need a lot of kudos for my design work, or I just look at something and say, what the hell did I do? It could have been better. Look at that hole. Look at that hole. Did I make a mistake using these colors? And one other designer was there. She was a retired florist, and she freelances for me. And she said, you don't need that. You are good. You are great. You just need to have confidence and don't let people naysay you.
Yeah. Ooh, big lesson.
Yeah, big lesson. I listen to a lot of naysayers, whether it's in your family or whether it's friends that want to help, you get crazy things like, you should sell your flowers on Etsy. I'm like, right. And then I start thinking, oh God, maybe I should sell my flowers on Etsy. And everything is second guessing. And I'm really trying to make an effort to not do that anymore, because it's not good for the business.
Right. It's not good for you either.
It's not good for you. It isn't. It's not. It's a spirit stopper.
Yeah. I love that story, not because it was fun for you to go through that, but I think most of us look back at pivot points and realize we needed to do the thing to discover that we had the courage to do the thing, but we don't do the thing because we're not ready yet. And I don't think we're ever ready. Yeah. And so, there was a blessing in the fact that this person let you down and you had to fly by yourself for those 2 big weddings. But, totally. In retrospect, you probably were freaking out that weekend, I would imagine.
Oh, I was freaking out big time. The people around me were calm and cool as cucumbers, and I was freaking out.
And tell me that the weddings went beautifully.
Oh my God, they went so great. I just love working with couples. One was my niece, and her aesthetic is not my branded aesthetic. And I couldn't talk her into it. And her wedding turned out so spectacular, and the flowers just really elevated everything. And then the other was a couple that wanted a wildflower vibe, which is my thing, and wanted a lot of color and wanted to look like things were gathered just from nature. Mm-hmm. And so we had that wedding set up. And the next day, the couple contacted me and shot me some pictures from their friends. And to me, that's like, oh my God, that's out of the park.
Because
to contact you,
the day after their wedding.
And I did it because somebody pushed me off the cliff.
I love
So
this.
I would say don't listen to the naysayers and
Yeah.
don't hire consultants for longer than you need. Sorry, Juliet. But you got to have it's scary, and you got to have the faith in yourself to just say, okay, I'm ready. Push me out of the nest.
Well, and a good consultant knows when to quit too. A good consultant is having that in mind, that end game, kind of we were talking about before, the goal. Like there's a goal here. When we reach that goal, we can part ways amicably. It doesn't, we don't push it so that then it becomes stale and uncomfortable and just difficult. And you lose clients that way. She lost a client that somebody you might have pulled had her come in for certain things from time to time, and now you're soured, and it's a shame. It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Yeah. Can I ask you to tell us the story of how your work got featured in Vogue?
Yeah. That was crazy. There was this lovely young lady down the street who grew up a lot at my house. She would come over and watch my kids or just hang out, or I would make her costumes for school plays, or she wanted to be a peacock for Halloween. So we'd work on a costume together. And it was always something with Fern. She just had like this wild, crazy idea of what her world should be. And I loved being a part of it. Well, she grew up and went away and lives in New York, fell in love with John McEnroe's son. And it ended up that her wedding became kind of featured because he was going to be there, and his mom is Tatum O'Neal. She was going to be there, and Vogue really wanted a story. So she asked me to do the flowers because even before I started the flower business, I was going to have to do something for her wedding. And it's always been like a little fairy tale. So I did the flowers, and they were really beautiful, and they made it into Vogue. And her bouquet, that's a story. That was beautiful, but it was really scary. And it was just knowing the right people at the right time and getting lucky.
I love the fact that it was someone you kind of grew up with who, like, there wasn't, you didn't pitch to famous people to do their flowers.
Mm-mm.
It was an organic process, and it just so happened that this friend of yours, for whom you would always have some role in her wedding, ended up marrying the son of two celebrities that got you there. So I hear the luck part of it, but I also hear the part that's because of who you are as a person, the two of you stayed connected in that way that allowed her to say, now I want you to do the flowers.
Yeah.
Wow, you're great. You got great stories, Katie.
Yeah, I think it is being in the right place at the wrong time, but I'll use another pun. You've planted seeds throughout your whole life, and these relationships that you've built have become kind of the foundation. You mentioned, and I would love for you to tell us the story of the bouquet, just because you mentioned that it was scary. And one of the things I think about this flower business that's so interesting is, in my world, I do scary things and then it's, a spreadsheet, or I do scary things and it's a presentation, and your scary things end in this beauty. And so just take us through that, if you don't mind, just the bouquet and how it worked out.
Okay, she wanted something that was Vogue worthy, and she left it to me, and I know she's really eccentric. So I did a bouquet on a wire frame that was cascading, but it was like jewelry kind of. And after I did it, my lead designer said, after I worked on it for 6 hours, that's sloppy. I would be embarrassed to give it to a client. So the next morning, it was late at night. The next morning, I woke up early and made a traditional bouquet, and it was pretty, but it was traditional. And I presented it to her, and she was like, I hate it. And I was like devastated. But then I said, okay, I have another one. I don't know if you're going to like it, but you can always wear it as a hood ornament. So I gave her the bouquet and she cried and said, "This is exactly what I want. This is Vogue." And it was just an example of trusting your gut, knowing your client and knowing what they would want. And later, I stayed at the wedding, obviously. And later, after the after party, when she ripped off her big skirt and had a little teeny mini underneath it, we went into the back room and I bent it into a hood ornament for her and she wore it on her head. And there's a great picture in Vogue of her chomping down on a In-N-Out burger with her hood ornament and her little mini and making this great face. And I'm just like, that is it. That's the moment. That's when you know your client. And at that point, I should have said, "We're done," and moved on. But
So the person who didn't like your jewelry trailing bouquet was the woman who was naysaying you along the way.
yeah, and I hope she never hears this podcast.
Yeah.
She won't.
Maybe she'll learn something from it if she does.
Oh boy.
And only you and she know who she is. So
Yeah.
you haven't named names.
Yeah.
So, Katie, I think we're going to wrap up here, but I wanted to ask you if you have one secret to share, and you've shared a lot already, but if you have one secret to share for our listeners out there who are living in fear a little bit, maybe listening to the naysayers, do you have something that you can leave us with to inspire them?
Do the math and trust your gut, but do the math. And just stay positive and try to build community.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Beautiful. Words to live by.
This was fun, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much,
Katie.
you.
Katie,
It was great talking to you.
We'll see you at a Flower Friday.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm coming.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you as always to our guest. Please stay with us for our post-interview takeaways.
What a special person.
I know. I'm so glad we talked to her. You know, you have these people in your life and you're kind of going through, and we got this podcast, and every once in a while I'll be talking to somebody I know and then I'll be like, "Hey, I love your story. I forget that, you have this great story." And I'm so glad that she came on. There's so much to it. And yeah. Another breast cancer person. Mm-hmm. It's really, that didn't pass by me without, we have a couple guests this season that have stories about breast cancer. And
the thing that really struck me as we were talking, and she mentioned it, but in such passing, that there was this intersection with her the bipolar diagnosis and the first time she tried to run a business, which obviously didn't go as well. And I would love, if we ever have her back, to explore what gave you the courage to get past that experience to launch where you are now.
That would be
it sounds like some of that was community, like her love of flowers and her husband saying, "Yeah, go for it." But, sometimes when we have a bad experience or we have an experience that scars us in some way, it's really hard to get past that. And somehow she's persevered.
So hard. And even the designer that she worked with that was so difficult in the end and helped her so much. And, I thought about this mentor I had early in my career that really she shaped who I ended up becoming. Yeah. But in the end, she wasn't a good person. It's hard for me to reconcile that. Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't see it. I wasn't seeing it. I was only seeing the part where she was helping me. I wasn't seeing where she was hurting other people. And it's, it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. It occurs to me that there's, the way I have had those kinds of experiences, it's like a pendulum where they can do no wrong. And then you swing over and you're like, "Oh my God, they're evil or flawed," or however you want to think about that.
Yeah.
And then with time, you can pivot to the middle, which is gratitude for all the things you got out of it. Like you did learn a lot, you got a lot, with also the discernment that this isn't someone that you don't really want to be like that.
Yeah. And I don't need to have a relationship with them
And
anymore.
you don't need to have I mean, that's wisdom to me. That's part of what we get when we get to a certain age and amount of experiences, to be able to not demonize something, but also not revere it. Like let it live in its complexity and nuance. The thing I love the most about Katie, I said this to her and I'll say it again now, is that she is so, without necessarily articulating it, values driven. Like she starts with what feeds my soul and how do I connect to people and how do I bring people together? It's like, love in action.
Yeah, really absolutely. Absolutely. She's a delight to be around. That's for sure.
Yeah, she is. So Katie was a really wonderful guest. And to our listeners out there, I hope you've enjoyed this Secrets of the C-Suite podcast. This has been another episode. Tune in again in 2 weeks for yet another one. This is season 4. If you have been following us, thank you. If you are new to this, please leave us a review and follow along so you don't miss an episode. And thank you for listening. We're so glad you've joined us for this episode of Secrets of the C-Suite, the podcast. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks. In the meantime, please tell your friends and coworkers about us, and be sure to follow, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed listening. Secrets of the C-Suite is produced by Juliet Clothier, Susan Sutherland, and Brian Clothier. Original music is by Brian Clothier, and the podcast is inspired by leaders like you.